Woo! Yeah, baby! Hey. Ding dong, the witch is dead. All right. Everybody, welcome on in to NorCal Sports Network. An historic day in San Francisco Giants history. They have gotten rid of their worst president of baseball ops, GM, whatever you want to call him. He's gone, baby. I'm back. Blue. Buster Posey is now president of baseball operations. I'm excited. Wait, that deserves a big, proud, cheering noise. Here we go. Let's keep that going, baby. Turn it up. One more time.
Dan couldn't hear that,
bud. Couldn't hear it? A little loud?
No, we couldn't hear it at all on my end.
Really? The crowd?
Yeah, when you cheered, you sort of echoed and you sort of faded away.
Well, let me play it again. No cheering from me. Here's the crowd.
There you go. Cat, can you guys hear that?
I don't know if the chat could hear that or not, but everybody, it's a great day.
Yeah,
it is a great day.
But now we know why they're having the press conference for tomorrow.
Yep, and got to give credit where credit's due, right? Senior said he called it. He called Buster Posey as Pobo as early as a year ago, or maybe whenever Buster came back. He said, yeah, he kind of sniffed it out. I was thinking they might go Coletti, Sabian,
or Ning.
I didn't even think they would do it. It was more of I hoped they would do it.
Yeah.
I never said they would actually, because I didn't think they would, but I was hoping they would, and that they would maybe train Buster. But maybe Buster, hey, you know what? Here's a thought, guys. Buster's president of baseball operations doesn't mean he runs the day-to-day operations like Farhan was. Maybe he oversees everything and he brings in his own guy to run the team. I'm cool. I'm cool though with Buster doing it, because if Buster does it, they actually would have a shot at Juan Soto, because he's part owner and he's a player and people love Buster. And maybe he goes out and says, you know what? I'm not going to be beat. It's my job now. I'm doing it. I'm going to take the reins. I'm going to do the negotiations, and I'm going to make sure I get baseball players in here. Maybe this is all the excitement with Chapman saying they're not going to stop. They're going to be in the playoffs, because maybe there's been some talk between, I know Melvin knew about this. I'm very confident Melvin and Buster talked, and that Melvin had talked to Buster and says, I can't manage this club the way this is going. So this is wonderful news, everybody. Farhan Zaidi, a 6-year disaster that set the organization back many years, I believe. The farm system is empty. You really only have a few players, Bryce Eldridge being, the top. But after Eldridge, there's no real studs coming up. I mean, even Wisenhunt, everybody talks about Wisenhunt, right? Wisenhunt is just another guy we've heard of, kind of like,
Brown.
Yeah. Yeah, this move, Aaron Law says this move is more of a face of the franchise move in the short term. I think you might be right. I'm not sure what's going to happen on this. I don't know if Buster does the Dave Dombrowski, the Ned Coletti, the AJ Preller, the Brian Sabian type job every day. I just don't know. But he might do it temporarily. But my thinking is he might go for he might look for somebody. I don't know. But at least they have somebody right now in place. If Buster does indeed do this, if he's the guy, then this is, great news. He can handle it. Maybe he handles it for a year.
It's definitely a step in the right direction. Dan, I think it comes up with two things. Is he going to hire a GM? And a lot of times when you get someone new, you want your own guy in. Is he going to bring back Melvin?
I don't know.
I think, but the one thing this does is it brings the Giants back in the news. It's not going to be as negative as usual. Right now it's really tough being a Giants fan, previously, and just Giants overall, because they're going to go to the very back of the page. Now the Giants are going to be headlines when the playoff starts, as well as for the 49ers. I mean, this might be one of the top news things, besides being on MLB Network. This will be big time news, and this only helps the franchise.
Yes.
We're not taking steps back. We're taking steps forward.
Correct.
And I've never seen a GM, not a GM, excuse me, an owner actually become a baseball operations. Dan, have you thought of that before? Do you know anyone that's maybe has done this?
Hey, Bora, welcome on in. Great news. It's a fantastic. I'm back in gear, everybody. I'm back. The Giants did right. They got me back. I told you I'd come back. I'd put the hat on when Farhan was gone, and the fact that Buster Posey is named Pobo there, you see at the bottom of the screen. So Buster Posey is now head of the baseball operations. So that means every baseball decision that happens on the field, off the field, is going to go through Buster Posey. And you asked if anybody's ever done this. Didn't Derek Jeter kind of run the Marlins for a while?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, not very successfully, but at least there is precedence in that. I think Robert Brown, Billy Beane. I don't know if Billy Beane was an owner with the A's, or I think he was. Maybe he had some.
But he was a GM first.
Right.
And then before he was going to leave, they said, "Hey, we'll give you part of the team."
I'll be right back. I gotta get my drink of water here.
That's all right.
Did Lou? Do you think Posey had to give up his ownership to?
I don't know exactly, because I've never really seen this before. I know when Billy Beane got the ownership, he had an opportunity to become GM of the Red Sox, and then he'd been there so long, he had chances to leave, and they said, "Hey, we'll give you parts of the franchise." I think the most he ever owned was like 5%, to keep him, which is still huge. But, I'm not sure. One of the questions I asked Dan is he going to hire his own GM, since really he's never done that job before? And does he want to maintain Melvin? A lot of times when you get someone new, you want to bring your new guy. If it was me personally, I would hire a GM. Learn as we go, since really the only thing we've learned that he's done is he texted Chapman. Yeah, that's right. I gave you his name, Chapman, telling him, "Hey, we'll throw in the no trade clause." That's a big difference in sitting down, doing contracts, figuring out taxes and everything. And, I think he's also going to bring someone new in to run the club, because
you're talking managerial
all
wise,
the negativism.
You're talking manager wise.
Yeah.
I'm going to disagree there. I think the reason why Posey's here is I don't know if he's the long-term guy. I kind of feel like he could be a stopgap just to kind of weather the storm, get the organization back on track. And I kind of feel like Melvin's back just because they're both catchers. There have been rumors of them having meetings behind closed doors, just the two of them. I can definitely see Melvin and Posey talking behind the scenes about Farhan this past year. I do feel like Melvin feels like he's been handcuffed a little bit this season, just because he hasn't been able to run the organization the way he is. But my instant reaction to this is just like, if you're a Giants fan, you should be excited.
Yeah.
This is the best news you've
It's
had
like
in
us
3
picking up a
years.
Soto.
Exactly. This
Yeah.
is as good of news as signing a free agent. Really,
Yep.
it is. I mean, this is great news. This is a great day if you're a Giants fan.
Oh, it's
Oh, yeah.
unbelievable. It really is great news, Bar. You hit the nail on the head, because now you got people excited, and you named Buster as the guy. As I mentioned earlier, senior softball, Kelly. He got this. He was the first one on this. I think even before Buster moved. He said Buster's moving back to the Bay Area last year, and said eventually would take over as the president of baseball ops. I didn't think he would actually do this job, but you think about it, it's like he saw what was going on. It would have looked pretty bad if he did it last year.
Yeah.
If he would have come in last year, Buster shows up, he's in town, and then they fire him. It kind of looks like Buster was, taking control of the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think what they did is they said, okay, we'll give him one more year. They gave him the money to go out and get the players, and he still screwed up. And his butt is gone. He's gone. And welcome in, Los. Great news. We got our Giants gear back on. The divorce wasn't completely final. The judge had not signed off on it. The wife got her stuff together, and I'm back.
Yeah. Well, this is absolutely huge. Dan knows Mondays are the day not to bother me with any news because it's always the most busy day putting out fires from the previous week and deals and transactions. But I just heard this break 10 minutes ago, and I told my assistant, please hold my calls for an hour. I am going to be busy for the next hour. This is something we've been, it's accumulation of talks we've had for the better part of 2 years. I am quite shocked that Posey is going to take this job. Quite frankly, I don't know if you guys have covered that or discussed that.
Mm-hmm.
He just didn't seem to be, he's such a family man. He's professed that over and over and over. He said it at his retirement press conference that he just wanted to get away, and spend time with his family. So this is kind of an everyday job. So I'm a little surprised at that, but he's a guy that knows the game. He's a part of our tradition and part of our winning World Series aura. So great day for the Giants. Great day for Giants fans. Authentic, real Giants baseball fans. The casuals out there probably don't care about this idea too much. Oh, effing well. Oh, effing well. It's time to play winning baseball and make smart baseball decisions.
Guys, if you're watching NorCal Sports Network, this show is going to be a lot more positive than it has in the recent past. The show the past couple of years has been revolved around Farhan and wanting to get Farhan out. Guys, we were the first on the scene almost a year or 2 years ago, wanting Farhan gone, because we saw this team's direction. We saw what the team was putting out on the field. We knew and we saw that it wasn't enough. And we wanted this to happen. It's been a long time coming. He should have been gone last year. But there's nothing much else to say than, Lo, you just said it before me. If you're a Giants fan, this is great news. You guys should be really happy. Posey, I don't know. I have no clue how well he's going to do, but just the name value brings so much. Just because he is respected around the league. He has a level of respect that he carries around the league. Opposing players, they respect him, and they're going to want to play for him. I mean, he's a winner. He won 3 world championships. He's a future Hall of Famer. Who doesn't want to play for someone like that? It's really it's just great news. If we want to pose the question, do we think Farhan gets another job in baseball? I think so. Maybe head of the analytics department, but I don't think he gets a GM job for quite a while.
Billy Beane loves him. Don't be surprised if he's back with the A's and
Good point, yeah.
And helping Sacramento get them all situated and things like that. But I will say one thing about, well, I have a lot to say when it's my time to speak, obviously, but Buster Posey was a great player. Just because you're a great player doesn't mean you're going to be great in the front office. And so, and this is not a pessimistic comment. This is that he is new at this. He needs to surround himself with people that know what they're doing, senior advisors, people with experience, and then ultimately he could be the decision maker. I bring up Michael Jordan. I bring up Derek Jeter. Great players. Michael Jordan is as great as it gets. Failure in the front office, failure as an owner. So playing the game and the business side of the game are two different things. Buster has got to surround himself with senior advisors that, again, have experience and will help him. And one thing I think we all know about Buster, he's not an egotistical person who has to do it his way. I think he's a humble guy that he will listen and value people's opinions, people that know more than him in the front office. So I think that's the key moving forward. This is a great move. Just getting rid of that clown is fantastic. But to take it really to the next level, he's got to surround himself with good people. And I hope they do.
Yeah, I agree with that wholeheartedly. I think he's got to surround himself with baseball people. I've talked to a lot of baseball people, as you know. We've had Ned Coletti on the show. One of the important things about a job like this is you've got to hire the right people. You've got to get in the top player personnel guys. You've got to get the top scouts. It's all about, Farhan took this team away a lot. He got rid of a lot of scouts. One of the things in my conversations that I've had with Ned, not talking about the Giants job in particular, but just talking about the roles of a GM. And he says, it's very important that you surround yourself, as you said, with the best people. And I think Buster will be reaching out to people like, I wouldn't be surprised if he reached out to Sabian and Ned Coletti and guys like that, because look, Buster's never done this, and it's great having a name at the top, but you got to know I'm sure he doesn't know who all the best scouts are, and who the best personnel directors. I think he's going to probably bring in a group of people, and we'll find this out. But have
they mentioned if Pete Petula is gone as well?
I haven't heard that.
I do know that Melvin is back. Greg Johnson apparently made a statement. Buster has the demeanor, intelligence, and drive to do this job, and we are confident that he and Bob Melvin will work together to bring back winning baseball to San Francisco. So Bob Melvin is back next year. There's some mixed feelings there, but I think I don't know if he was the greatest manager to be managing under Farhan, because we all know that Farhan's a micromanager. It's proven. Marty has said it. There's so many people have said it. Farhan's the one that makes the lineups. He's the one that makes the adjustments. You could have just seen it. They picked up Derek Hill on waivers, and the next day he was in the lineup. That doesn't happen. That doesn't happen too often. So I think I'm not going to criticize Melvin too much, just because I want to see him being able to manage freely and not being micromanaged all the time, because that's what Farhan is. You got to let a manager manage, and Melvin wasn't allowed to manage, I feel like, to his greatest capacity this year. and I'm excited to see what he can do on his own.
Yeah. Hey, guys, just a quick note here. We've got almost 250 people right now, and it's growing by the minute in here on the chat between YouTube and Twitter. If you haven't done so, hit that like button and subscribe. If you haven't subscribed already to the channel, it would be greatly appreciated. It helps us push the show out, the more likes that are out there. And we've been covering the Giants as much as anybody out there on YouTube. So it would be great if you would just hit the like button for us, and we will bring you, top of the news. I've reached out to some people and trying to see if they're available. We may have some special guests joining us here in the next half hour to hour. It all depends. I mean, this news broke at just after 10 o'clock, right before, and we've got a big ball game going on back in Atlanta right now with the Mets and the Braves. So this all just came down, I think, a little after 10 o'clock is when I first saw it. News was broke. My text started blowing up. But reaching out to people right now, again, we'll see if they're available. But I'm sure a lot of these guys that I'm reaching out to are probably being bombarded to be asked to go on, other shows, KNBR, The Game. Who knows what else is out there. But, guys, couldn't have asked for better news. The Giants have a press conference tomorrow. As I told you weeks ago, Farhan was done. I told you, he's gone. And you just read between the lines, read the tea leaves, just look at everything that was put out there. Where there's smoke, there's fire. The news drops that were coming out, those were all leaked by the Giants to the beat writers.
Yeah.
And all of that was pointing toward today, the day after the 24 season, a very disappointing 24 season. But you know what? Buster Posey came back last year. I think that set things in motion right then. I think the plan was all along this year, we're going to give Farhan enough rope to hang himself. And he did. I mean, they gave him all the money that he wanted. They let him go sign his team in the offseason, and the team still underperformed. And Farhan couldn't get out of his way because he said he was going to not micromanage at the press conference last year when he fired Kapler. And we saw exactly the same thing after a few weeks of the season. First few weeks, the Giants were going with a set lineup. Then all of a sudden, guys like Yaz and Conforto struggled. All of a sudden, the platoon started, and we started seeing the Derek Hills, as you mentioned, Bora, guys coming up, Donovan Walton getting, plugged in the start. And it was just like, what are you doing? And then Farhan would say, oh, we got to, my regret last year, I didn't give Ramos a chance. And then he cuts Ramos in spring immediately. And then he says about a month ago, next year we need to go with more vets and we need to get the vets in. And then just a week or two ago, he's been saying we need to play more youth. This guy had no plan, no vision. He was way over his head, and he was just speaking from, really literally out of his ass. I mean, he didn't know what he was talking about. And it finally caught up with him. The Giants have had enough. And so this whole thing with Buster, guys, if he came in last year in the middle of the season and took over and fired Farhan, it would have looked like, a coup almost,
Yeah.
The way they did it, I think it was great. They let Buster get into the organization, figure out firsthand, he's there. He knows what's going on day-to-day operations. He's talking to Melvin. Melvin's saying catcher to catcher. I can't deal with this.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I can't deal with this. Give me your thoughts on this, Lou. You're a long-time season ticket holder. You've been there right in the front row, literally the front row of the stadium next to the Giants dugout. Give us your thoughts.
Yeah, I'll tell you the truth. In the last 15 minutes, somebody asked me, do I have my tickets for next year again? And normally that would never happen. Today it sort of feels like almost like tomorrow's opening day. Even though it's the baseball playoffs, I got that tingle because I'm actually sort of happy the Giants are actually either going in a direction. And, one of the things about last night's show, we heard rumblings about the Tuesday. Dan, 100%, he's gone. So how the chat always thinks Dan is so negative and wrong. There's another fact that Dan was right about this. But, I feel good. We always talk about the Giants were living off 2010, 12, and 14. That's behind them. I think, I actually sort of have hope now that they might be able to sign Snell, because being Buster, he realized how valuable Snell is. He's going to do the right thing. And I think one thing about Buster is he's going to be honest. Farhan, a.k.a. Pinocchio, he lied so much. He wasn't sure what reality was. But, I couldn't be happier. Being a season ticket holder, I'm actually proud to be a Giants fan.
Mm-hmm.
I think especially, today with, I'm excited for baseball again. And I think, I'm only excited for all of us. I think it's really going to help the show. We're not going to have to talk about Farhan. We're actually going to be able to talk about the San Francisco Giants.
That's a great point. Just looking back on the year, I'm going to say a lot of the things I said after last season. It was another wasted year for Marco Luciano, Luis Matos.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'll say Casey Schmidt. Casey Schmidt looks a little bit like something. He had a really good end of the season. But Marco Luciano constantly up and down, up and down, up and down. He never got a chance. He never got a chance to be a pro. He never got a chance to be a major league player. We heard it at the deadline. We've said it a million times. Farhan, we know what happened. Farhan got rid of Soler. It was purely money-based. He said it in the press conference. He's on record. We want to give Marco Luciano more time and more reps. What happens after that? He gets 20-something at-bats. He plays like one game in 5 days, and then he gets sent down. This clown had no vision for the future. He had no clue what he was doing. He is a wreck, and I guarantee he is not getting another GM job for a couple years at least. He's going to have to prove to another organization that he's valuable, because he is one of the main reasons why the Giants have been unsuccessful and or a laughing stock of MLB. Quite frankly, if you would have asked any other media member, Dan, I know you watched MLB Network. They were laughing at the Giants. They were laughing at the Giants trade deadline.
David O'Dowd.
I think the trade deadline was his worst field. He just could not do trades. He couldn't trade. 2021 was the 1 year where he got Chris Bryant. And that I'm not even sure that was him.
That was Scott Harris.
Exactly. That was Scott Harris.
And look where Scott Harris is today.
Exactly.
Scott Harris he's in the playoffs
Detroit
tomorrow.
He's in Detroit. He's in the playoffs. He knows how to run an organization. Farhan is clueless. He's a clown. It's just so glad to finally have some direction, some sense of direction for this team. I'm happy. I'm happy to be a Giants fan. I'm happy to root for this team now, because it's been a disaster for the past couple years, and it's really nice to be able to root for this team. It really is.
This is going to have a ripple effect in so many ways. The younger players probably are going to look now and say, oh, we got a chance now. We have an opportunity now. The rest of baseball is going to say, oh, we have a guy in a name in there right now at the top of the front office that is respected. Now I'm going to reiterate, he's respected as a player. We have to see what he's going to do. But let's face it, Posey's first move was to sign Chapman and give him 6 years. He was already kind of in the job before he was in the job. Now we're kind of split on Chapman signing. A lot of people are happy with that. There are others that are not too crazy about giving him 6 years. Maybe that's what needed to get done. I don't think it did. I think he may have taken 4. Go ahead, Dan.
No, go ahead. I finish your thought, because I want to follow up on that. Go ahead.
I was going to say, and I didn't want to bring it up until the whole Farhan thing was cleared up. But if that is Posey's first move, To me, it's a little interesting, and I've brought this up on the show a few times. Buster Posey was a young prospect behind an established catcher in Benji Molina in 2009. I'm going to repeat that. Benji Molina was not an average player.
No.
He was a pretty damn good catcher. And he was a veteran. And the Giants took a chance and didn't just bring Posey up. They traded Molina to make way for Posey to come in, take over that staff. We know what happened after that. They won a World Series. It's interesting to me that Posey, now a front office guy, didn't allow Casey Schmidt to possibly be the third baseman, just like him. We don't know if Casey Schmidt, I'm not saying Casey Schmidt is Buster Posey. Please, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that it was interesting to me that his own experience as the young catcher coming up, high round prospect, 5th overall pick, first round, Casey's a second round pick, that instead of going the young route, he went to sign with a veteran. So that to me was a little interesting. That doesn't mean that Posey's a veteran guy, I don't think. I think Posey does understand young talent should take precedent. Why do you draft guys if you're not going to play them? So this is going to have a ripple effect throughout, the organization and throughout the landscape of baseball now that they have a respected, established guy in there.
I agree. And interesting comment, good comment here by Will Martinez. Having Rodon, Gosman, and Snell and getting absolutely nothing for them was a fireable offense alone. Absolutely. You had 3 stud pitchers, 3 Cy Young, type pitchers, and, you got nothing for any of them. And, this team, think about it. If they would have made trades with some of those guys, who knows how the prospects would have turned out. But, he didn't ever trade for big all of his moves were dumpster dive moves.
Safe.
Every one of them was like digging through the trash looking, and I'm not calling, these players personally trash. Okay. I'm just saying you're digging for, diamonds in the rough, and instead of going after, top prospects. This is, Brian Sabian traded Zach Wheeler, right? And for Carlos Beltran. It was a bold move. It didn't work out. But at the time, you were going for it. You were reigning World Series champs in 2011. Buster had gotten hurt. He's out for the year. And he was trying to make a move to keep them, defending champs. And it didn't work out. And Zach Wheeler, and it's, you could say, look back now and go, well, look what Zach Wheeler did. But for every guy you traded prospect like that, many of them have failed. Okay. And so, and Zach Wheeler's, one of the top pitchers in baseball today. But, for Farhan to get nothing out of Rodon, Gosman, and Snell.
We knew they were leaving.
We knew they were leaving. And then he had to, say, well, we think we're a team. And that we're just a short, 5-7 game winning streak from getting back into this. And,
every team is.
Yeah, exactly. So this is, the stuff that Farhan did and didn't do are equally as bad. He just made the same mistakes over and over and over again this year. You're at the trade deadline. You're still somewhat in it. We saw what Arizona did last year. They were behind the Giants, right, at the trade deadline, and they made deals and got to the World Series. What does Farhan do this year? He trades away Cobb and trades away Soler and says Luciano's going to play. Luciano doesn't ever get to play. And then he gets rid of Cobb, and they run out of pitching. And then, it's just a whole thing of it's unbelievable.
Dan, I'm so glad you brought up the Soler and Cobb thing, because that was one point I wanted to get to. If the Giants had Alex Cobb and Jorge Soler down the stretch, do they have a better or worse chance of making the playoffs? It's not even a question. They have a better chance. And you know what? It takes away Soler from the Braves, who's doing pretty well on the Braves now. He's helping the Braves. So, you gave up Soler for money reasons. That it was purely money reasons. You didn't like the signing, whatever. You try to bring in a Marco Luciano to fill his spot, and apparently immediately you're like, oh, he's obviously not ready. So you try to supplement everybody for Marco. It just doesn't work, and you made your team worse by trading away Soler and Alex Cobb for two nobodies. That I don't know if we're ever going to see these guys again. But Lou, you mentioned, and you guys have all mentioned Snell. I typed it in the chat last night, and Dan pulled it up. My bold hot take for this offseason is that Snell re-signs with the Giants. I think there's a possibility he does. He likes the West Coast. He lives in Seattle. I don't think Seattle is going to go after him because they have elite pitching. That's the last thing they need. They're going to be going for hitters. I can definitely see a scenario where Snell comes back to the Giants. I mean, there's been a picture of him golfing with Logan Webb at Pebble Beach. I think he likes it here. And to me, I'm not going to speak for him, and I may be way off on this, but to me, Snell really seems like a down-to-earth guy. He doesn't really care about the money. To me, that's just my opinion. I could be way off on this. Scott Boras is his agent, so we know who Scott Boras is. But to me, I don't think Snell definitely doesn't want to go through what he did last season, which is just wait everybody out, not do spring training, and just hop in and get injured right away. He wants to sign early. He wants to be on a team. He wants to be set. He wants to be relaxed. He wants to have an off season where he's not super stressed and having to work out for a team. He wants to be signed. So I could honestly see him signing pretty soon with the Giants.
That's a good point, Bora, because the cancer is gone from the organization, and he loves Melvin. Pitched for him, San Diego, came here. It's I think you're going to see a whole different attitude to the team. I think you're going to see professionalism come back. And Aaron makes a great point here, though. He says it's good. It's a good first step of many. In the end, results matter. We all sound like homers now. Let's pump the brakes and see how this plays out. Let's be ready to be equally critical of Posey's moves. Absolutely. It would not shock me, guys, if the first move of Buster is to actually hire a baseball man to run the day-to-day operations. Because remember, just because he's named Pobo doesn't mean he has to run the day-to-day operations of all the deals and the transactions. He's going to need somebody. I mean, we rip on Farhan, and rightfully so, but Farhan did scour the waiver wires and know and did pick up guys like Yaz. That was, hey, look, it was a decent move. I mean, I'm not a huge Yaz guy, but he's a solid player, right? I mean, he fits as a fourth outfielder. There was a day and time where he was, when he first came up, he was doing pretty good. So maybe Buster makes a move to bring in a baseball guy. I don't know. Maybe he keeps Petulia.
I hope so.
As his right-hand man. But I don't think Buster has the knowledge, the wherewithal, and probably the time it's going to take to do this job. We've talked to Ned Colletti. We've heard Ned Colletti tell us stories that on Christmas Eve, he's out in the car talking to Scott Boras because his wife said, get out of the house. It's Christmas, and Buster's got a young family, and this job is really, as Ned has told us, you live and breathe and die with this job all day, all night. It's like you have restless nights trying to figure out what you're going to do. Is Buster going to do that? Maybe. I don't know, though.
I don't see him. I mean, I kind of see him, and this is just my opinion, being the stopgap. He's the guy. He's the head of the team, the organization right now for the next couple years. And then once they get a new direction, once they get someone who is proven and they have confidence in to run the organization, I think he steps down and goes back to ownership. Because Los, I'd ask Lou this. I'll ask you this. Do you think Posey gave up ownership? And I don't even know the rules with this, because I know if you're part ownership, there's some relations that you can and can't have with the team. So I don't know if Posey had to give up ownership to be able to be in this position. But I don't think he's long-term, just because I don't see them being able to fire him. I mean, if they fire him, I don't think they would bring him back into the organization as an owner. Maybe I'm wrong, but I kind of think they like Posey. They want him to be part of the organization for the longest time. And they just need a new sense of direction right now. So he's the best man for the job. He's going to be there for a couple years. And then once they find someone better, or find someone to actually run the day-to-day jobs as a full-time job, that they'll hire him. But I mean, if they don't, and if Posey is the long-term GM, have patience, guys. This isn't going to be a one-year fix. This is going to be a multi-year fix. It's not a complete quote-unquote rebuild, but it's like it. I mean, this team isn't good. This is a fourth place team in the division. Don't just look at the record. I know the record shows that they're about a 500 team. Look at the division they're in. The Dodgers are going to be good next year. Again, the Padres are going to be good next year. The D-backs are going to be good next year. Those are teams that all in the last 2 years have finished ahead of the Giants in the division. So it's not like the Giants all of a sudden, just because Posey's the GM, are going to be this world beater team that's going to win the division. No, I mean, there's a really good chance, and Dan, I know you and Lou have predicted this, that they finish in fourth place next year. And it's a really realistic possibility. It'll take time. I don't know if they're going to sign Soto. I guarantee they're going to go after him. There are going to be reports that the Giants are in talks with Juan Soto. They're going to go after these guys in free agency. They're going to go after the big guys. But I mean, if they don't get them, it'll take some time, guys. It'll take some time, because they still have young guys. Eldridge still is going to come up. They have Walker Martin in the farm system, Rainer Arias. They have some guys in the farm system. I know Bleacher Report is really low on them. Bleacher Report ranked them 30th. I don't see them that low. I think they have a little better a farm system than 30th overall, but it's still not a good farm system. It's just not.
Go ahead, Lou. You want to respond?
Yeah, Dan, two things. First of all, Dan, on such a special day, I thought you'd have a new photo of Farhan on the tragic number behind your right shoulder. Hopefully tonight on your show you'll have something. And then my big thing is with Posey is I think we were the laughing stock of just fans general with the Correa free agency catastrophe. And now that we got rid of Farhan and you get Buster there, free agents are actually going to look at us instead of thinking us as a joke. I think it was such a huge disaster. There were so many side effects. I'm very excited now that when we talk about free agency, we actually have an opportunity. I think it's a big thing because that Correa thing, you have a press conference, you have his family there. It was a disaster that, who knows how bad it really was. So I'm glad that's behind us.
Just talking from the business side of things.
Yep.
Business side of things. Do you think these agents will look at Posey as a young, inexperienced guy and take advantage of him and get a couple extra years for their player when maybe they shouldn't have? Again, Posey the player, Posey the front office guy. We have to separate the two. Now, we have to, because we all thought getting rid of Kapler last year was going to just solve things, and it didn't. And now the guy that we really think was the cancer for the team, that's a strong word, the negative of the team is gone, that everything's going to be okay. Just because you get rid of a problem doesn't mean you have a solution.
Very good point.
Posey has got to get an authentic, experienced GM, you know, where Pete Petula is right now, out in front. Pete Petula, we didn't hear from him. We saw him, I think, one time on Baseball Network at the baseball meetings. I've never even heard of the guy. I made fun of him all last year, called him the Invisible Man. Where is this guy? You always see GMs out in front. All you saw was Farhan, and he didn't even show up once in a while. So you need to have your GM, president of baseball operations, whatever title you want to have. You got to have them out front and center. You know, I'm not crazy about Melvin coming back, to be honest. Remains to be seen if that is in fact the case. I mean, before you said that they announced that was the case, so maybe it is official. So let's see what happens. I really like this kid from Tampa. I believe his name is Carlos Rodriguez. Look up his resume. Like, I would love the Giants to get him as their GM working along with Posey. So this is a work in progress. Today is step one. There's more steps that need to be made. You know, more steps to surround him with you know, guys, again, like I said, that have the resume and that have experience. So, but yeah, this is definitely a day of celebration for sure. Long time coming.
Great point.
Yeah, Dan, I don't know if you read Chardal's super chat.
I didn't see the super chat. I saw this. Are you talking about this one here?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just
okay.
It's not a super chat, but hey, good morning to you, Chardal, too. Appreciate you being a member of the show. And if you guys want to become a member of the show, you get a few extra bonuses. You know, we got so many people in the chat. We've got almost 300 in here right now between YouTube and we got is that a doorbell? Was that mine or somebody else's? I hear a doorbell.
Yeah, I did hear a doorbell.
Not mine.
Okay. Let me check and see. Let me check my ring here. I don't think, but yeah, if you guys want to become a member of the channel, it's $4.99 a month to get. You know, we put out some extra videos just for members, or we'll also, you know, make sure your chats get read. They get priority because we get so many chat. I don't know how many people are in this chat right now, but there's literally hundreds and hundreds of chats that are going on, and we can't get to them all. So we try to prioritize the members, and doesn't mean we'll read every one of them. Lou's a member. Barry Bonds hitting coach. There we go. Yeah, maybe I've heard he's been doing some of that. But you guys made some great points when it came to, you know, this taking a while to get going. It does put them at the table. I think there's a respect with Buster Posey, and so that is going to, you know, give Giants more credibility right away with probably the agents, the players for sure. And I think there's going to be more of a professional voice. There's going to be, I don't see Buster, if he's doing this, I don't see him being wishy-washy as far as like Farhan wavering. I think if he wants something, he's going to go for it. In other words, if they really, really want Juan Soto, if they say we are, and this is where I think maybe the Soto is a real possibility. Buster may be saying, you know what? We are starless. We've got to get a star to build around, a superstar, not a star, a superstar, a generational type talent that we're going to have to pay over. We've already overpaid for Chapman, right? We see that they overpaid to just to have Chapman. Maybe you bring a Soto in with a Chapman and you go out and get an Adames and then you re-sign a Blake Snell. You're starting to talk now. You've got a Soto, Jung-Hoo Lee coming back. Jung-Hoo Lee now fits better into a lineup like that because they need contact hitters. Soto's a guy that can make contact and drive in key runs. I mean, the guy's got how many runs batted in this year as a Yankee? Over 100, batting second.
Yeah.
And he's done it with Washington, he did, he was great with San Diego, although his first year wasn't that great. But you know what? It brings them a seat at the table, a better chance. With Farhan, there was just, you see how he changes and waffles and goes back and forth with his comments that make no sense. And how can an agent, how can a player respect that? And then we also see, we know that players talk, right? And we see how players have come in here and they've been mistreated and not got the playing time they were going to get. It's just been a crap show. It really has. It's been a disaster. But look, Bora, you made a great point, and I wanted to get to this. This is where it's going. Fourth place is a reality still for next year. It really is, guys. Unless they do go out and get totally revamp this, I don't think the farm system is all that great. I mean, Bleacher Report just ranked them last, okay? I think another thing this does is it's probably better news for Giants in the long run. I think this might put the brakes a little bit on Bryce Eldridge. Maybe having, if Farhan's here, he's going to try and save his job by bringing up Eldridge. Maybe Eldridge, they actually let him develop for a few months in the AAA and let him hit AAA consistently for at least a month or two. Let's see what he does. And I think that's, I think Buster, he came up in September of 2009, right? It wasn't like he came up and started 2009 the season. So the Giants aren't ready to win the division or maybe even get into the wild card next year at the beginning based on what they have. So let him develop, and maybe he comes up in September. Maybe he comes up earlier, and then you start the whole thing with the cycle that the Giants went through in 2009. Build it. But the Giants had a lot more than just Buster in 2009. They had Crawford. They had Pablo. They had Bumgardner, Kane, and Lincecum. All those guys. Kane was the first one. But they started bringing up all these guys, and then it was Buster, and then it was Crawford, and it was and Belt. And you had a nucleus of a team that was together coming up.
And then Mad Bum the next year.
Right. The Giants don't have anything near that right now.
Yeah, they had a nucleus, and then they caught lightning in a bottle with Pat Burrell and Cody Ross. And let's be real, Cody Ross carried them in the playoffs. But what I'm very, very interested that Posey immediately does that I think it should be, if they have a board in their press room or in their conference room, at the top of that list should be hitting philosophy. Buster Posey was not a guy that was swinging for the fences. He was not a guy that, had a bad eye. He was a guy that put the ball in play. He was a guy that didn't strike out a lot. He was a guy that had, listen to it, a high batting average.
He has a lifetime 300 batting average.
Yes. This is something I'm very going to be laser focused on. The philosophy that they're teaching in the minor leagues, which we kind of speculate. We don't know it for a fact, but just the eye test just tells us that the Giants players get to the major league level, they take an awful lot of pitches right down the middle with people in runners in scoring position. They don't choke up. They don't hit for average. So I would like to see it get back to them teaching in the minor leagues. And before they even teach it in the minor leagues, I would like to see them start drafting better hitters. Their ballpark is not going anywhere. They're not all of a sudden going to have a bandbox. They're not all of a sudden, I don't think, going to move in the fences. They're not going to ever be playing 81 games in that stadium, a home run hitting team. Although in 2021 they did. But again, a lot of guys caught lightning in the bottle. That ballpark is built for speed, gap hitting, gap power, and athleticism. So that will be something I'm very, very interested and focused on. And again, it's not going to happen overnight. like Dan said, it's going to take a few years of drafting the type of player. And what you can do immediately is free agency. Now, if you sign in free agency another power hitter that's a 220, 230 hitter, then, hey, guess what? We're going to be on this channel saying that's not a good move. Don't think we're not going to call out Posey if him or whoever he hires makes what we think and what we feel are questionable moves. Everybody's open to constructive criticism. The key word is constructive criticism. So I'm really focused on the hitting aspect of things and what their philosophies are going to be moving forward.
You're muted, Dan.
Ben makes a good point here. It's going to take a miracle for Posey to turn this around in 2 years. Yeah, look, baseball people, executives that look at the Giants, they realize that this farm system really doesn't have much in the, it's the cupboard's empty pretty much. And it's not going to be easy, guys, just because they've named Posey. They do have the money, but it also, Juan Soto is going to be highly, sought after by the Yankees trying to retain him, the Mets going after him. And, the other players we've talked about, the Adamises, the Teoscar Hernandezes, the Blake Snells. There's a lot of teams that are going to be putting up money for these guys. So it's not just because, hey, the Giants, they're not the only team. All right. And players are going to be sought after, and it's going to become bidding wars. The way the Giants are going to have to win these outbid is they're going to have to definitely outbid these guys, and they're going to have to create a vision for the franchise. You're going to probably have to, you want to go get Juan Soto, you know who you're going to have to go in on? You're going to have Buster not only there, but you're probably going to have Barry Bonds come in and say, look, I owned this town. I built this ballpark. You're the next me. I want to see you here. It's going to take something like that, I believe, because he's got to have to give the vision of being the man, right? And Bonds, I've heard people say that Soto is going to be the guy and that he built Park. No, Bonds built Oracle, period. And there will never, and Juan Soto, as great as he is, cannot touch Barry Bonds. Okay. Cannot touch Barry Bonds. Barry Bonds, there's only one player that I have seen that brings the awe and shock and awe, if you want to use the word that they used in the Desert Storm, shock and awe, is Barry Bonds and Shohei Ohtani. I don't know of any other player that when he comes up to bat, I'm stopping everything I'm doing because I want to watch, because I might see the most majestic shot I've ever seen. It's Barry Bonds. And you know what? I'll say this about, since we're on Shohei, if Barry had the lineup that Shohei had, he would have hit 80 homers.
Yeah, if he didn't get pitched around so much, he would have got a lot more pitches to hit. And yeah, Bonds
did miss.
He didn't miss.
Shohei does. Shohei misses sometimes.
And Soto has holes in his swing, but Soto here with Bonds as his hitting coach, oh my God. Like in his ear all the time, telling him about what to look for and little nuances, and oof, that would be incredible. But as incredible as that be, I'm going to keep saying what I always say. If you got nobody hitting behind Soto and you're paying a lot of money for a guy to walk a lot, you have to have balance in a lineup.
Right. So you're going to have to, exactly, because you know what? You think Bonds, if all as the Giants did is add Soto and thought that was enough, he might break Bonds' intentional walk record because nobody hits on the Giants.
Yeah.
So, but I just want to make it clear, as Robert said about Barry Bonds, no player even Barry Bonds stands alone as the greatest player of this generation. I mean, Willie Mays was great, and he stopped playing in 73. Okay, I was 12. So, but that was his best years were gone. Willie's best years were, early 60s, late 50s, in the 50s and 60s, really. So I got a chance to see Barry Bonds at his finest, his best. And I don't think I've ever seen a more feared hitter in the game than Barry Bonds. I grew up with Willie McCovey. He was feared, but Bonds, my goodness, they walked the guy with bases loaded to bring up, in a one-run game. They walked him with bases loaded and made it a one-run game because they didn't want him to win the game. I mean, that's the ultimate sign of respect and fear. Who does that? Buck Showalter was the manager, right, Lewis?
Yeah, I remember that. It was the bases loaded, and they were. It was a
two-run game.
Might have been a 4-run game. So he actually had the winning run back. He didn't want Bonds.
Oh, maybe that's what it was. Maybe that's what it was. Yeah.
And I've never seen that before. I mean, he's beside Kelly Lee, of course, of the Bears, of the Bad News Bears. There's no one been feared that bad. And Dan, what I'm excited too, tomorrow we have a press conference. I'm wondering who's going to be there. We might have our new GM. We might have something. And what's nice is here are the Giants are going to be the topic today. Baseball starts tomorrow, and we're all about the Giants press conference, which, to tell you the truth, I can't remember the last time I was excited about something like this.
Great point,
it's a whole new thrill.
Great point, because we might get a huge surprise tomorrow. You never know. Yeah. They may already have a guy that they've been working with. And remember what Marty Lurie said a year ago? He said he didn't think they'd fire him because it would take about a year to find a person. Maybe they've been working the back channels, and there's a hush-hush deal to somebody, and they're going to announce somebody tomorrow. I don't know. That's just a possibility. I think it's more likely that they don't, but we know one person who will not be at the press conference tomorrow, and that's Mr. Farhan Zaidi, who has been laid to rest in the proverbial San Francisco Giants casket there. No more Farhan. I can't tell you guys how this makes me feel. I haven't even.
Dan, the chat wants to know, beside myself, is Buster excited about Buster now being in charge?
Let's see. Let's bring in Buster. I'll bring him in just a moment here.
The most important person.
While Dan steps out, I want to talk about Casey Schmidt for a second.
Sure.
For those in the chat who don't know, Casey Schmidt's been on the channel. He's a good friend of the show. He's been ridiculed online for his play, for how he's performed and how he hasn't performed. So
is Elliot Ramos for a long time.
Exactly. Casey Schmidt, if you look at the stats, and I'm gonna just read out the stats this year. In 113 plate appearances, he has a 252 batting average. He has a 283 on base, not great. He has a 477 slugging. He has a 760 OPS. He has a 114 OPS plus.
Yeah.
That means in 113 plate appearances, he's better than 14% of Major League Baseball. Casey Schmidt ended the year on fire. He was electric. Mike Krukow and Dwayne Kuiper, they were talking about it. He has a role on this team next year.
He better be in a position to win the starting shortstop position.
He better be, because he is an excellent defender. If you guys don't know, we've said it a million times. He's a natural third baseman. He won Gold Gloves in the minor leagues at third base. He's been compared to Matt Chapman at third base defensively. He is a excellent defender, and you can see it with your eyes. I mean, he has one of the strongest arms in the whole league. And the ability and the way he scoops balls on throws to second. I mean, his glove is just flawless. He has an excellent glove. He's a valuable asset, in my opinion. And if he can the one thing, in my opinion, that he needs to work on is his plate discipline and being able to up his walk rate. Because that's the one thing. His on-base percentage is a little low. He only had 4 walks in 113 plate appearances. So that needs to go up a little bit. But this year in AAA, if you go look at his AAA stats, he had a great year in AAA. And he had a high batting average. He hit home runs, and he walked a decent amount. So that gives me confidence that next year he's going to go into next year. He's going to have more confidence. He's going to be a little better. And I mean, I think he can win the shortstop job if they give him an opportunity, because he's a better shortstop than Tyler Fitzgerald. It's not close,
absolutely. 100%. The arm
upside. He has a lot of upside.
Yeah, absolutely. Guys, you guys wanted to see Buster here? Here we go. Buster is excited. Buster, I need you to sit. Okay, let's put this. See this biscuit guy? Pretty good sized biscuit for Buster. All right, leave it. Leave it. He's going to wait, but we've got things to do. So go ahead and take it, Buster. Take it.
Yeah, Bora, I see with him, he's got the it factor, which is what you need. And you guys keep talking about shortstop. I thought he's played a phenomenal second base I think he's played 3 weeks. I think the thing is we don't talk about his defense because we're spoiled with Chapman at third. But he is like a vacuum. You know, it's been amazing how defensively they just don't bring it up. He's been phenomenal. And if you notice the last 2 weeks, every game the Giants would get 5 hits, he'd have 2.
Yeah.
You know, yesterday 2. So I think that's a great point. Well said.
Let me get the vibe and pulse of the chat. I'm going to ask something, and I want you to take out salary. I mean, because if you factor in the salary, there's no way this trade could be made. I just want to know who the chat values as a player, who is a better baseball player right now. If the A's called, because they love Matt Chapman, the organization loves Matt Chapman. If the A's called and said, we will give you Brett Rooker for Matt Chapman, you know what? I think there's a lot of people in this chat that would say no. And
I wouldn't do that.
Out of their
effing
mind. You wouldn't do that?
I'm not doing that. No.
Brett Rooker is 25 years old.
No, he's 30.
Rooker? For the A's?
Brent Rooker's 29.
Is he 29?
He's 29, yeah.
I am completely wrong there. He just put up 296, 38 homers, 111 RBIs, and 11 stolen bases.
Brent Rooker's amazing, and he was an all-star snub this year. I think he's going to be in the MVP conversation. But what I'll say about this is he's just a DH. That's all he is. And if you're trading Matt Chapman for Brent Rooker, I would take it too. If you're trading a Matt Chapman for a Brent Rooker, that you would do that if you have a team ready to win. I mean, he's 29. Yeah. Chapman's 31. It doesn't really make sense just because you don't have the team ready to win. If he was 25,
by the way, just an update. It's 2-0 Atlanta, top of the 5th. The Mets have runners on second and third with 2 out and JD Martinez at the plate. Let me see if I can, you know what? I need to just tune into this. Instead of watching dots, I can watch it. This isn't a dot.
But think about this, Bora. If they did that move, it'll never happen. But if they did that move, you got a middle of the order guy, and now you got Casey to play third base. How much worse will Casey be than Chapman? Batting average wise, I think they'll be about the same. Glove wise, maybe Chapman's a little bit better, but not in 2 or 3 years he won't. And Casey will still be good because he'll be hitting the prime of his career. So I would do that every single day.
The one sad thing is, and the Giants are going to build around Chapman. Obviously, he's the
I think that's a mistake. You don't build around a guy like that.
When I say build around him, not like he's the star player, but he's the traction to bring other players in. I think that's what their hope is like, hey, look, we have a Gold Glove third baseman, a professional, a leader, a clubhouse presence, a guy that plays every day. I think they like that fact, and that they wanted to. Well, the Braves got out of it. Harrison Bader just grounded out, so 2-0 Atlanta. Atlanta wins. They're in, and they'll play the second game at 1:40. Whoever wins this, whoever loses this game, has to win the next one, or they're out. Arizona's in. So Arizona watching this game, not knowing exactly. Arizona. Think about this, guys. Arizona's watching this game, and then has to watch the second game and figure out if they're getting ready to get on a plane. And
Arizona made their own bed, losing a couple of games to the Giants.
Yeah,
you have to win those games against
exactly.
They made their own bed.
They did. Yeah. So, but this whole thing with the Chapman thing, the thing that upsets me, not so much about. I'm okay having Chapman, and what I'm not okay with is you never gave Casey a shot. You never gave, and this is why Farhan really had to go, because Casey, we saw him in Baltimore. He looked as good as Chapman at third base and playing defensively, and his hitting is coming around, as you mentioned, guys. It's really I don't know how to say it, but what happens if they would have let Casey prove himself, and if he had done what he's, what happens if he put up the same numbers that Chapman did? What happens if he hit 250? What did Chapman end up hitting? 245, 246 on the season, 27 homers, but only he didn't even reach 80 RBIs.
And that's Chapman's ceiling.
Exactly. That's his ceiling.
He's going to be 245, 242, 238, 250. He's not going to be a 270.
He hasn't hit 250 but once in his career. Only one time has Chapman hit over 250. So, and I think that was the 2019 season with the, the ball being
juiced.
Yeah, juice ball. So what happens if Casey got to play and proved himself at third? That $25 million, what could that go into? You know what I'm saying? But now let's look at this and let's say that Casey, now he can never play his natural position, which is a shame, because it's like having, you know what it's like? Think of it like this, guys. You played Willie Mays in left field. Casey Schmidt is a Gold Glove in the minors. He's lightning quick. His feet are quick. His hands, he's got soft hands. I don't know if you guys have ever seen him just pick a throw down to second in the dirt, and he picks it and puts a tag on a guy like nobody I've ever seen. So you just basically told, I'm not saying Casey Schmidt's Willie Mays. Don't take it literally like he's as great as Willie Mays. I'm saying you playing him. If you told Willie, look, we just signed another guy, and you're going to have to play left field or right field or whatever. Casey was a phenomenal third baseman. They drafted him, and the draft report said they compared him to Matt Chapman. That's how good he was. And you're never giving him a shot. So what are you going to do with him now? Now you got to make him a shortstop or trade him or a second base. You've got to give him a shot to be an everyday player. And if they don't, then they should just trade him and try and get something for him. I think Houston would be a perfect fit for him, because Alex Bregman's are going to leave Houston as a free agent. And if you put Casey at third base for the Astros, he would ball.
And that short porch in left field. Yeah.
I hope kind of that happens.
Yeah, it would actually, for Casey's sake,
for Casey's sake, to be the everyday starter with a bunch of great hitters. He could hit 7th in that lineup and rake. And, I think NorCal has a pretty damn good reputation for being right on its evaluations of players. I hate to pat ourselves on the back, but our percentage, our grade is pretty high right now. So I'm seeing a few Casey is trash. You guys are the same people that say Ramos was trash.
And you're the same people that said the Giants that got upset with us when we said the Giants are a 4th place team.
Yeah.
So
scoreboard. We win, you lose right now. Sorry, until noted otherwise. We see a lot of potential in Casey. He's never been given a chance here. They've signed Chapman. They've committed to him. It is what it is. But in moving forward, I'm going to be interested in hearing the press conference tomorrow to see kind of how the hierarchy is established.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
If there is going to be, if Pete Patulli is still with the team, hopefully not. If they are going to bring in a GM, so to speak, what are the responsibilities of the president of baseball operations versus the GM? Because you didn't before in the older days, there was no president of baseball operations. It was just the GM was a GM. He was responsible for putting the roster together. But now they have different titles. So I kind of agree with Bora. I don't think Posey's in this for the long term. I think the ownership really got the pulse of the fan base, was getting more and more angry week by week by week by week as the season, started dwindling down. And they had to do something. And they had to have a big splash name. And there's no bigger splash name in ownership or in the front office than Buster Posey. So it gets the fan base excited just from the fact that Farhan is now gone. We don't have to deal with that. But let's see what the organization does. Are they going to still be a platoon analytical type of organization? Hopefully not. Hopefully they tone that down a little bit and they go back to old school, get some good scouts back in here, draft well, know what the market is for free agent. I think the quick way to fix this team is not going to be through, free agents. I think it's going to be trade. Mm-hmm. But who do they have to trade? Who are they going to target? Are they going to target hitting or are they going to target pitching? So that's going to be very interesting. This is the first winter baseball meetings. By the way, where are the winter meetings this year, Dan? Do you know?
Are they in Texas or where? I'm not sure.
Dallas.
I think it's in Dallas. Yeah.
Ooh, I might have to fly to Dallas for the winter meetings. Never been to Dallas. But
I'll be down in Dallas in early November. But it should be very interesting.
This is the first winter meetings that I'm very interested because I knew Farhan was not going to make any splashes or anything.
Cliff, they couldn't wait to fire Farhan after I got off work. Organization still making awful decisions. Oh, man.
And Dan, the one thing, too, is the last year has been all negative. Beside Giants play, we lost Willie Mays. We lost Orlando Cepeda. We need good news occasionally, and we finally got it after such, we can only do so many celebrations of life. We need something, and now we have a future.
Yeah, it's a very
great point.
Truth hurts Wilkie. Yeah, that's Don out there in Indiana says, let's hope Ramos doesn't turn out to be another James Outman.
I don't think so.
I don't think so. I think he's got a lot of drive, and he wants to really. He believes in himself. But Lindor just grounded out. Top of the 6th, the Braves are doing what the Braves do, man. They're gonna win this first game, I have a feeling, and get in. And wouldn't it be like so apropos?
They don't like each other, so it's not like they're gonna go down.
Wouldn't it be nice to see the Braves come out and beat the Mets twice, and the Mets get knocked out?
How fun would the New York crowd be there? And the press. All you had to do was win one game, Rodney. One game. Couldn't do it.
One thing I'm curious about Posey is, does he keep Pat Burrell as hitting coach? because I'm not a fan of Pat Burrell.
I'm not either. I don't like the way this team swings.
If he's teaching, whether it's Pat Burrell's own philosophy, what kind of a hitter was he? Lifetime. Look up his numbers. It's very Matt Chapman like. Is that his philosophy or is that the organizational philosophy? So, yeah, Barry Bonds is probably a long shot. I don't know if he wants to do that on an everyday basis. Maybe he does. Maybe he'd like to get back into the game. Will Clark would never do that. I know a little bit about Will Clark on his shows and gotten to know him a little bit. He loves his lifestyle too much. But I said that about Posey, and I was wrong.
And Loves, remember, he did it for when they were the Florida Marlins for 1 year, and then he got out.
Remember when Magic Johnson became coach of the Lakers for a little while? And everybody's like, oh, Magic, he's going to bring us back a title. And he did that for about 3 weeks. And he said, man, I'm done. He said his quote unquote, F these players now. They have no drive and no ambition to be great. So Will Clark would not do well with today's player from a philosophical point of view at all.
Mark Graves brings up a good point. He says these guys swung the way they have way before Burrell got this job.
Justin Veal.
Agreed.
Maybe it's Justin Veal. Maybe that's the issue there. They sure hit a lot better. Well, really in 21, the magical year. Who was it?
It was the guy who went to the Rangers.
Was his name Dustin Lynn?
No.
Wait. Or is that who's the guy? Oh, I'm drawing a blank.
Donnie Ecker.
Donnie Ecker, right. Now they were primarily a home run hitting team then in 21. They didn't score runs a lot. They were the 3-run homer team that year. I want to see them do more like the Padres, a mix of hitting the ball and, them and the Diamondbacks. They score a lot of runs. They got a lot of guys that make contact. You've got to find – I got to believe these guys can be taught, some of these guys. I don't think Chapman can ever become a contact type hitter.
No.
He's got a horrible swing path. His swing path, if you watch Chapman, he doesn't hit balls up high, low. They're right in the wheelhouse. They're center cut, either a fastball or a breaking ball that just hung. That's what Chapman. But if you don't see Chapman poke balls down the right field line, I don't think Chapman. He goes to right center occasionally, but most part, doesn't he go to dead center or left center? Chapman, most of his. I'm trying to think. He's hit a few to right field. He kind of
hits it all around the field.
Yeah, he's hit one off the right field wall last week, I think, didn't he? Off the bricks.
Mm-hmm. He hit one yesterday, I think.
Maybe he did.
He's predominantly a pull hitter.
But he has to hit the pitch has to be kind of a mistake because he's if you just look at his stats, he's not an RBI guy. So that's the issue. Him being not an RBI guy, he has to bat lower in the lineup. You need your RBI guys, your top 5, maybe 6, but it's I don't know. We looked at the stats the other day, and Chapman, his best batting average was like in the 2nd position, which was kind of interesting. But
one of the things you guys did a few weeks back that was pretty eye-opening was breaking down the percentage strikeouts of other teams' lineups.
Whoa, Laureano just hit a home run.
Wow. And how the Padres, a lot of their lineup, they were at less than 20% strikeout rate. Without even looking at it, I would venture to guess that the top scoring teams in the league, just total runs scored, are lineups consisting of more guys that, make contact. And because it just, the 3-run homer is, the Yankees are probably going to be up there because they have Judge and Soto. They got 2 ridiculous power hitters. But I'm just talking a balanced overall lineup. I'd be interested. I swear, I'm not like tapped into baseball for a few months. So when I get off here, I may kind of look that up myself and just kind of look at the highest batting average teams and seeing where they relate to as far as runs scored, because I think that's something the Giants need to look into. While everybody in the league is trying to go for power, it would be probably is not going to happen, because sometimes teams don't want to be that one odd team. But if they zigged when everybody zagged, I think it might work with this ballpark. If they focused on speed, athleticism, defense, and higher averages, I think the runs would go up consistently, because they would get those guys in from third.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think you bring up a great point.
Man at third, less than 2 outs. The Giants are probably one of the worst hitting teams I've seen in a long, long time. They consistently failed. And how many 1 or 2 run games did they lose because they just couldn't get a guy? When you put the ball in play, good things happen, man. They just do. So it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see how the philosophy, if it changes or if it stays the same starting today.
Yeah, I mean, you got to play to your strengths, and the Giants. Baseball is a really unique sport.
Very.
Like that, every baseball field is different. There are different dimensions. There are different ins and outs of the ballpark. So you got to play to that. I mean, if your Yankee Stadium, whatever the Red Stadium's name is, I mean, those are places where it's easy to hit. It's easy to get the ball in the air, and it's easy to hit home runs. So you kind of got to go for the guys that hit home runs. I mean, the Giants ballpark is a hard ballpark to hit home runs in. It's just, it's a factual statement. So if you're not able to get the superstar guy who hits 40 to 50 home runs like a Judge, then you got to play to your strengths, and your strengths are base running, hitting for contact, gap to gap hitting, and pitching. And you got to play to those strengths. I mean, you can't just go all out on these guys who are strikeout, who are the 3 true outcomes: the strikeout, walk, and home runs. I mean, it'll work sometimes, but I mean, for the most part, it's just not going to work in this ballpark. So you have to play to your strengths. You got to. One more thing about Farhan. As this is the show about Farhan's Fired. Don't be surprised if there are some stories that come out in the next few days or weeks about how Farhan ran this team. And I don't think the stories are going to be great. I think he's a micromanager. He's not a good GM. We know who he is. Don't be surprised if there's some exclusive stories from Slusser or Baggerly or Pavlovich that detail how he ran the team and how he sort of micromanaged everything.
Great point, Bora, because we heard that about. Remember, we were the ones. If you watch NorCal Sports Network since last year, we were the ones, crapping on Kapler about his food reviews, and nobody touched it. Nobody would touch it. We were having fun. And then after he got fired, how many people came out with articles ripping him about all of his food reviews and that he was more focused doing that than managing the club? We were the ones ripping on Farhan the past 2 years. Now you're going to hear about all, as Boris said, all the stories of players he pissed off and guys that didn't know if they were coming or going, and how it messed with their heads. And because we read that one article a couple weeks ago that was put out. Remember the little line that said owners were kind of perplexed with all the up and down roster moves? Where did that come from? That definitely came from, we'll get that. Hold on here. We'll get that. There we go. Get rid of the siren there.
They're coming. They're coming for you, man.
They're coming for you, Lou. So I think it's Lou has right there in the city, right? You're right there in what's the main street that those sirens are coming from?
Well, I'm on California, sort of in the Fillmore area, but that I live 2 blocks away from a fire station, so that was a fire truck going by.
There we go. So I think you're right about that. It'll be interesting to hear the stories. It'll probably, like you said, it'll come from the beat writers, and don't be surprised if you see it, if you follow Twitter, if some of those are out before tomorrow's press conference, because tomorrow will be all about, we thank Farhan for the, he did a wonderful job, blah, blah, blah. We want to thank him for his service,
Yeah, the political statements.
The political statements will all
need
be
to be
tomorrow.
said. Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you highlight Ben Bamboo's comment about Marco Scutaro, please?
What time is that one at?
It was about a few minutes ago.
Let me scroll, Bora. You'll probably find it.
Yeah. So Marco Scutaro, to me, represents the exact type of hitter I am talking about. For those of you that did not see the 2012 playoffs, that guy, I want to say, every time there was a runner in scoring position, I want to say he came through with a hit or a sacrifice. He never struck out.
Yeah, 75% of the time.
He always put the ball in play, and with authority. You guys know how I love Tony Gwynn. And in that series and that playoff run, Marco Scutaro was a right-handed hitting Tony Gwynn. He came through every single time. I don't know if he has aspirations to be a hitting coach, but they have his phone number. And to Mark Graves' point, it's an excellent point. You can have Barry Bonds, Marco Scutaro, Rod Carew as your hitting coach. If you have the type of players that just don't have that type of, hand-eye coordination, it doesn't really matter. So it's 2 steps. It's a combination of bringing in those type of players and having the type of coach to teach them. You do that, man, we got something now.
The guy that I said I wanted, this guy, I said to trade for him. You remember all that, guys, in spring training?
Love Arias.
And I said in the beginning of the season, Arias is available. The Marlins had already got rid of somebody big. Who was it that the Marlins first got rid of?
Wasn't Chisholm.
It was somebody they got rid of early in the season. And I said,
the fire sale was started.
Yeah, I said, go get Arias. He's perfect for the ballpark. He's just absolutely perfect. And Farhan did nothing. We're hearing Petulia is gone. Can somebody confirm that?
Please.
I don't know if that's true or not.
And then, Dan, they got him leading off. And then they got Barrels batting 9th for San
Donnie
Diego.
Barrels,
That's the difference between a winning organization and an average organization. They got Mr. Barrels batting 9th. So they got him back-to-back. They're number 2 in the league with the runners in scoring position. That's how you build a championship.
Okay, Baggerly just said Jeremy Shelley will get expanded role. I'll have to look that up. I don't know who Jeremy Shelley is. Do you know who that is, Lou?
Is Arias signed with the Padres, or is he a free agent?
He's signed.
He's signed. Okay, and the Padres will not more than likely trade within the division, so he's off the table. But a guy the Giants could look at, I don't know if the Marlins would give up on him, but again, this is a guy that didn't start really playing until June. Xavier Edwards, picked him up in fantasy. Kid hit 328 for me with 31 stolen bases. He does not strike out. He is the type of player. And I'm not saying have 9 guys. You need a few guys that have, some power. But if you can have a lineup up. I'm telling you, starting pitching. What is pitching today? Pitching are throwers, guys, right? There's no more Greg Maddoxes in the game for the most part. Everybody wants to throw 98, 99 miles an hour. Everybody wants to have high spin rate, blah, 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 whatever. They only go 5 or 6 innings. And then when the bullpen guys come in, what do? Same thing, 98, 100 miles an hour. Good hitters can hit fastballs, 98, 99, 100, 101. Good hitters that put the bat on play will hit fastballs. So if today's trend is there's no more finesse pitchers, there's no more knuckleballers, there's no more finesse, location, Tom Glavine type of pitchers, then if you have a bunch of lineup guys that strike out a lot, then that plays right into, pitchers that throw hard. So you get these guys that have higher batting averages, put the ball in play with speed. That's another thing about guys that throw hard. Most of them are crap about holding people on base.
Yep.
They have the rule right now. They're so focused about, I need to get this in there. I need to throw it as hard as I can. They're not focused on the base runner. You can steal all day on them, not to mention that they have you can only throw it over a few times now. So I'm telling you, you get guys like Xavier Edwards, guys that are quick, fast, put the ball in play, high batting average, athletic. Man, that's the way to go. Right now, I think the only ones right now that the Giants could be called somewhat like that is Jung-Hoo Lee, Tyler Fitzgerald. And if they let Ramos run a little bit more, maybe he drops 10 pounds in the offseason and maybe he gets a little quicker. Although he's pretty fast right now. I don't understand why he doesn't steal more. Those are the only 3 athletic guys that you really have in the lineup. Chapman is athletic. I know he can run, but he's a 230, 240 hitter. I'm talking about guys that hit 280, 290, 300 potentially, and have some athleticism. They have 3 guys in the lineup right now. They need to get a few more.
Here Cliff Martinez says he'd love a reunite with Gosman, the Giants via trade. Maybe you can pull off Gosman and if you want to go for a shortstop, if you want Bichette, or if you want to go out and try and get a Vladdy, who knows?
Who are the guys in baseball that come to mind that had down years? Like they're good players.
This year?
Yeah. Who are some borderline superstar players? I mean, Bichette comes to mind from Toronto immediately. But those would be guys. Again, I know I'm sound like a broken record, but buy low, sell high. Buy low, sell high. Don't try to get a player after they have a career year because you're going to probably only go nowhere but down. Go after a guy that is a proven player, and he just had a bad year for whatever reason. Maybe he was banged up. Maybe he went through a divorce. Who knows? But target those guys and see if you can get them without having to give up too much. I think that would be not a bad strategy.
No, it's a great strategy. Let's pull. I'm going to pull up Andrew Baggerly's Twitter. We can read the statement from Greg Johnson, the owner of the Giants. We have made the decision to part ways with Farhan Zaidi. We appreciate Farhan's commitment to the organization and his passion for making an impact in our community during his 6 years with the Giants. Ultimately, the results have not been what we had hoped, and while that responsibility is shared by all of us, we have decided that a change is necessary. While these decisions are not easy, we believe it is time for new leadership to elevate our team so we can consistently contend for championships. I wish Farhan and his family nothing but the best moving forward. As we look ahead, I'm excited to share that Buster Posey will now take on a greater role as the new president of baseball operations. We are looking for someone who can define, direct, and lead this franchise baseball philosophy, and we feel that Buster is the perfect fit. Buster has the demeanor, intelligence, and drive to do this job, and we are confident that he and Bob Melvin will work together to bring back winning baseball to San Francisco. We are also fully committed to following the Selig rule and ensuring diversity in our hiring for any opening positions.
Okay.
Greg Johnson, Buster Posey, and Bob Melvin will be available to media tomorrow at 10 a.m. at Oracle Park. They will be available at the Alaska Airlines club level down the third baseline.
Should I fly up for that if they give me a press pass?
I would.
I wonder if they'd give it to me. I doubt it.
I'll tell you what, if the Giants do not re-sign Snell, and I don't think they will, but I mean, you mentioned Seattle. Seattle would be really smart if they trade one of their starters for a really dominant hitter and then, replace him with Snell. That, because Seattle needs a little bit of thump in that lineup as well to help Julio. A guy that is kind of flying under the radar that I think would be really good for the ballpark is Kikuchi. He got traded from Toronto. He went over to Houston. He's 33. I had to look him up since I was so wrong about Brent Rooker, and my young Jedi corrected me on that. So he's 33 years old. I did look that up.
He's 33?
Yeah. He's
not
33.
29?
No.
From 25 to 30 to 29 to 33?
Okay, relax. Yeah, relax, guys. Relax. Let's beat on the mortgage guy. And I'm getting flooded by emails right now, so I'm going to have to check out here pretty soon. But Kikuchi is a guy that I've seen him pitch many times because I've had him on fantasy team. He's nasty. He's got electric stuff. He sometimes controls a little bit out of whack. But when he went over to Houston, he had like a 2.9 ERA for them in about 9 or 10 starts. He'd be perfect for this ballpark.
Yeah.
Perfect for this ballpark. And he will not cost $35 million. He's 33, so he's, on that fringe. Maybe you can get him.
Have the kind of long inning relievers / spot start guys. You have Tristan Beck, you have Mason Black, you have Landon Roop. I really like Landon Roop. I think he can be a pretty good end of the rotation starter. His curveball might be one of the better curveballs on the team. That curveball is really good. It gets really good. He has really good spin rate on that curveball, and it's nasty. Dan, I'm just talking about the potential 2025 rotation with Blake Snell.
Oh yeah.
So you'd have Snell at the 1.
I'd love to have Snell back.
Webb at the 2, Robbie Ray at the 3.
Ooh.
Then you'd have Birdsong and Harrison at the 4 or 5.
Plus you got Roop.
Maybe Beck, maybe a Black. And then Howard brings up a good point. Hicks, sadly, I don't know why they're doing this. He's getting another spot to be a starter.
Oh, please don't bring back.
I don't know why.
Make your bullpen the back end
right.
Strong.
Your bullpen could be so great. I mean, Camilo Doval is going to be back. We know that. I think he's going to have a bounce back season. To me, this season was just like a mechanical loss. He just didn't break. He couldn't put it together this season. If you can have an end of inning bullpen of Doval, Hicks, and Ryan Walker for 7, 8, 9. I mean that's shutdown. That's a World Series end of the bullpen.
Muted by mistake. Absolutely. That would be good. I mean, Robbie Ray should have a pretty good bounce back year. I think he's got some nasty stuff. And if he can, what was his issue? Was he,
it was a hamstring, right?
Oh, that's right. Good. It wasn't his arm. I was hoping it wasn't his arm. So that's good news. Yeah,
I mean, Jordan Hicks he signed a 4-year, $44 million deal, so that's 11 per year. They signed Taylor Rogers to, I think, 3 years, $33 million. So it's not like this Giants organization can't sign relievers to $11 million deals. It's expensive, but they've proven that they would do it. I don't know if there's something in Hicks's contract that says he gets a shot to be the starter, because I don't know what they see. I mean, he had a decent year. That's kind of being nice. He had a decent year this year. But But I mean, he's not a starter, and we saw it. You called it, Dan. I mean, you could see it. He was going to fizzle out, and he was going to burn out in the second half of the season.
Exactly. I mean, Mark Graves says there's one expensive setup man in Hicks. Well, you've also paid $11 million a year to Taylor Rogers for 3 seasons. Pretty expensive for a guy that's just middle of the bullpen.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, closers and setup guys are important. What's the guy that San Diego's got, Tanner Scott? He's a free agent, right, after this year?
I think so, yeah.
So. Yeah, he's going to get paid. So, yeah, it should be pretty darn interesting.
I think I'm sensing a trade in the starting rotation. Not just, I mean,
I like your idea though about Snell coming back. I could see that.
I could see that too. I think that it's a pretty good possibility that happens. I don't know what's happening with Wisenhunt. He's been a top prospect. I think he was like number 75 or 76 in all of baseball this past year, but then he got injured, and I don't exactly know what the injury is. He has that wipeout changeup, electric changeup, and he has a decent fastball. I don't know who he's going to be. This organization is proven, I think, that they're able to develop pitching. They've developed Webb. They've developed Harrison. They're developing Harrison, I should say. They're developing Birdsong, and they look promising. I don't see any reason why we shouldn't doubt their abilities to develop Carson Wisenhunt, but I don't really see a spot for him in this rotation if they sign Snell. If they don't sign Snell, then I can see a spot for him. But I mean, if you sign Snell, you have Snell, Ray, and Harrison as 3 lefties. I don't know if you want 4 lefties in your.
I don't think you want 4 lefties. I can't see that. I really can't. What's this Draymond thing coming? Do we have anything on Twitter on this? I'm seeing Ryan saying, did he lose it again? Right. Oh gosh, is he going to blow up another season? We'll check into that. Our crack staff here with Bora in searching X to find out any. Where'd you see that, Ryan? But I can't pull up my Twitter on my computer for some reason. I can't even get a hold of Twitter by phone. They don't, none of these social medias have a. He went off on a reporter. Dan just posted on NBA and all the media on Instagram. Oh gosh, Draymond. He went off on a reporter because the reporter was concerned for his mental stability, and then he goes off. Oh my goodness.
All right, wait, I can pull it up off 95.7 in the game.
All right.
On their Twitter.
Their Twitter.
Right. Can you see it?
Yeah. Can we get the video of this?
I'm gonna play it.
All right, here we go.
Name your teammates.
All they worry about me,
Well,
I'm
they
a
say
successful black man in America doing incredibly well. What's the worry?
They worry about you.
There are way more people in this world to worry about than me, that's for sure.
But we're here now. So
we're all here. I don't think you should worry about me.
okay.
I'm doing pretty well. If you would have told me when I was 13 years old in Saginaw, Michigan, without a pot to piss in, that you'd be sitting here and somebody would say they're worried about you, I would have probably told them they were out of their mind. I'd be sitting here and they'd be worried about me.
Well, they're worried for themselves too. They want to know.
They don't feed.
They know the team needs
so
you.
why are they worried?
Because they know the team needs you.
If they don't feed
and
them,
they don't know if
their
you're going to be
family's
here.
doing this. I'm here. I've been here for 13 years now.
If you're going to be here every night.
Been here pretty much every night for 13 years.
Not so.
Very much so.
Then you missed some.
We all have.
Okay.
Look, Kevon Looney played 82 games 2 years in a row, and everybody was celebrating. We all miss games.
No, what I'm talking about, they want to know if you're going to be here, like mentally.
I'm always here.
You got suspended.
And suspension, the guideline of getting suspended is something that's in place because it's a possibility.
Right.
So
there's nothing changed in that respect.
know
As far as you.
what would change.
That sounds like John Shea.
I don't know.
I think my mindset has helped us do some great things. It's pretty cool. So it's all about how you spin it. I love how you trying to spin it, but it ain't my spin to it, bro. Yeah, that's good.
Two more.
Okay, that's nothing.
That's
nothing.
nothing. Yeah, that's nothing.
Ryan, that's like that wasn't.
It's just discussion. Like
That's just discussion. When you get the context versus, you see, when you get something in writing, how I reacted, thought it was something. I'm listening to him. Draymond's cool. He's cool with the guy. He didn't lose it.
no, yeah,
He didn't-
just having conversation.
He's having a conversation. That is such a nothing burger. I would say this to Draymond. I think he could be a little more tactful and say, "Yeah, I hear you.
Mhm.
I did miss time, and I cost the team. I cost this team possibly a higher seed in the playoffs by not being here for them, and I'm committed." I mean, it's just a lack of humility, I think, on Draymond's part. He did choke Rudy Gobert and then punch. Who did he punch? Or not? Who was it on the one on the sideline?
It was the Nurkic, right?
Yeah,
wasn't
or
it?
some crazy. What? Yeah, Nurkic. Yeah, I mean, he did some kind of some nutty things to warrant that. So I think the reporter, Draymond, needs to learn, in my opinion, that a reporter's job is to ask questions.
Yeah.
And you don't have to defend yourself and be a smart ass to the guy.
I mean, I think the one thing that Draymond needs to learn is like accountability. He should be accountable for what he did. I mean, he derailed the Warriors season. I mean, completely.
Yeah. Ryan starting rumors with Draymond and Broncos better than 49ers.